Hello, my friends. Thank you for coming tonight. I see Jaka is back. Hi, Jaka. Hi, Tiki. I'm so glad you guys are here to celebrate with me again tonight, the publication of my second book of poetry, Happy Place. Hi, Betsy. Hello, Betsy. I got my chat set up this time, so now I can see you guys come in. When you say hello, I can actually see it. That said, I am running a solo ship tonight, so I am my own facilitator. And so when we get into things, I won't be able to watch the chat while I'm performing, but I will jump back and say hello as much as I can and interact with you guys because I'm so glad that you're here. And I'll be honest with you, this set it's probably my most vulnerable poetry. And I was telling my friends, I don't know why I chose this topic for my first virtual tour performance, but I did, and so we're here, and we're gonna get into some really vulnerable things today. Again, this session is called Breaking Cycles, so it's all about confronting those generational traumas that just kind of trickle through over and over and over again, and finding yourself in it and then breaking it, deciding that it ends with you. So again, some of my most vulnerable pieces that we're going to go through tonight. Because, you know, we don't all get good parents. Our parents don't get good parents sometimes. And so, you know, it is what it is. I just want you to know I'm fine. I'm great. Obviously, I just published my second poetry book, and you know, my kids definitely feel loved. I ask them all the time if they feel loved, so I'm pretty sure I'm doing a really good job. But we will just share the poetry of my journey and confronting my relationship with my parents and then with my children. And we're just going to get really personal, at least from my end. I do have to give a disclaimer that there are swear words in these poems. So if you happen to be within earshot of somebody who's going to be offended by the F-bomb, you might want to relocate or put on some earphones, put on a headset so that we don't disturb the people around you. Okay. There will be time later that we can do a Q&A. So if you have questions, save them there. Like I said, I'm going to try to watch the chat panel as much as I can while I'm reading, but I might not do the best at it. Okay, so bear with me. The first poem that I'm going to share with you is called Halfway Alone. Halfway alone is this kind of trauma state that I found myself in, that I recognize in myself. You see, when people are raised with high doses of love and safety, right? They think that anything can last forever, and it's real easy for them to give people the benefit of the doubt. I came from a different group of kids, right? We learned different lessons, like how to look happy even though you're carrying really deep secrets. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Brian. I see you guys there. And, you know, we also learn that eventually everyone discards us. And so halfway alone is kind of this place where I find myself a lot, where I am looking and recognizing red flags, and then I immediately cut myself off and go back to a safe place. So halfway alone. Grown from stones, they muraled with shapes that made us fit for display. But we were so hollow, and so I'm so undergrown in spaces that seem to overflow for others, and then overgrown in places where others don't know, can't fathom, even when I ask them to imagine being skipped across the surface before going under. I take no more chances or rage in love with anyone at dangerous paces. All your intentions will be sifted and weighed and dusted and reevaluated for traces of love bomb residue imprinted into my skin with burnt pins. If I let your needle stain my essence, I need blood agreement that you won't discard me once I've let you in, like they did, gum and napkins. I stay halfway alone, will reliably cut us off to the bone at the first moment you derange. Slice away the tattoos I suffered for you. Bleed and groan as the skin rips, as I shape shift and trip you with my undertow, splash you back into your place, and crash you into my walls of pretty stones. And then I'll go on all the way alone. The next poem that I'm going to share with you. Hi, Pete. It's nice to see you, Pete. Long time no see. The next poem, Speck, it's also one of those things that I noticed in myself. So here's the thing. So our parents are the very first people to teach us what we're worth, right? That's our first sense of self-value that we get from our parents. And when they drop the ball, right, it can take a lifetime to heal from that, to undo that. And as we're going to see tonight, it has led me through some very toxic relationships with friends, with lovers, romantic partners. So these toxic love patterns that we get from our parents, they manifest in our other relationships. Speck it's all about this kind of hypervigilance that ends up resulting when you recognize what those toxic behaviors were. So you know what the red flags are, and now you watch for it. You watch for it, and you're just hypervigilant in keeping it out of your life. Now, I am going to get personal for a moment and just take you back to the fact that I didn't even get to begin this real healing journey until I was in my 30s. Just because up until that point, at least my mother was still part of my life. And so when you still have that toxic relationship doing this pattern, it's hard to really see it for what it is. And so I didn't really get to start looking at it for what it was until I went low contact with her in my 30s. Now, my dad always just kind of popped in and out. The times that he was here were very toxic. And, you know, in my 20s, he popped in, and I finally said to him, I'm like, look, if you want to do the father-daughter thing, let's talk about our past, and let's hash it out. Let's make our peace with it. And then you stay consistent. You be here, and don't just pop in and out when you want. And then that was the last time I heard from my dad. So it, you know, it is what it is. I am not, as you'll see, I don't hate them. I'm a little mad, but I don't hate them. I completely understand how they became who they are, but who they were anyway. But anyway, Speck is again about that hypervigilance of just not getting back into another one of those relationships again. Little speck afloat on the breast, feet leave behind when they rush out of the room. Dust scattered by the hooks and uppercuts, he landed before he fled. Kicked back adrift, dancing, a two-step sidestep what was around everything that is, but will never be safe enough. A hand-waving brush missing the dresser ledge, the bed pillows and lampshade, repelled by the curtains and windowsill, spun by ghosts and tornado gusts around all the restful places. I really like talking about him, but so does he, obsessively, without ever asking about me, who I am, or what shade I bleed. So I blow a scream, dodge and duck that he might be another one, swindling my empathy. Is that a love bomb combo followed by a back fist chip out of my price tag so that he can empty me at a reduced fee and then kick me to the curb? I swing back and set me free. Oh, little speck that doesn't ever settle on anything. Ooh, I need a drink of water after that, though. So, and especially before we get to quicksand. Mhm. So I'll let you know ahead of time that quicksand is my favorite poem in Happy Place. And it's my favorite only because it is such a big epiphany for me. It was a big moment in my healing journey. Um, I'll, I'll kind of give you the short story of it. So the last time I really had a relationship with my mother was um, at the at the end of my marriage. I was having a really tense moment that she happened to turn into her victimization. And then she got angry and she left. And I didn't hear from her for 6 months while I was going through my divorce. And all that time, I had no idea what I had done to her, what happened. Um, but I had other things to deal with. So I did not call her to apologize like I normally do. I would normally wait about 2 weeks and then I'd call her to apologize, whether it was my fault or not, just because I wanted to have a relationship with my mom. And so I would just be the bigger person all the time. But this time I was going through a divorce and there was a lot going on. So I didn't do it. And 6 months went by. Um, 6 months went by, got through the hard part of the divorce, got back up on my feet. Thank you all my wonderful friends and support system who was there for me and helped me through that time. Um, but she finally called, and when I talked to her, I realized she called to get my apology. And since I didn't know what I'd done at that point, I asked her what I should be apologizing for. And she said that I yelled at her and threw her out of my house, which did not happen. That didn't even factor into any of the events of that day. So it occurred to me at that moment um, that I was dealing with something that I didn't want to deal with anymore, and so I went low contact with my mother. A couple years later, I got a text that she had stage 4 lung cancer, and that's pretty much the end. But I had planned to go visit her. My younger brother lived in Central PA, so she was between us, and we met there. And I didn't engage. I really went so that the boys could take a picture with their grandmother and have some last memories. And she had she basically threw us out when my little brother got there. She didn't say anything to me. She said something to my younger brother, and I'm pretty sure it was to bait me into fighting her so that one more time she could have, been that victim. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad we just visited each other at the lake a little bit, um, and that was anyway the last time that we saw her. I tell you all that only because at the same time I had started seeing this really toxic guy. Now I knew I had a really bad relationship with my mom. I knew it was toxic. I knew that she had this pattern of love that basically meant I got discarded a lot, right? And anyway, so I ended up meeting this guy, and it was really intense, really quickly. We were so deep, and then he would do things to like he would just wouldn't show up for things, like stuff like rude things, like very rude things, and then he would just end things. And I was like, okay, fine. But then he would come back and it was this intense thing over and over again. And it got to be like my friends are looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know, what am I doing? Like I knew it was horrible. But anyway, it just so happens that it was kind of at the same time that my mom was dying, right? So in hindsight, I the big epiphanies. And my friend had sent me this article because I was talking to her about this guy, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand why I keep just going back into this thing that I know isn't bad, and I know exactly how it's going to go every single time, but I do it. And she's like, read this article. And she sent me this article, and I read it and was astounded that the pattern is consistently documented, that there are terms to describe every bit of that love pattern that I saw. And yes, in that guy, but when I read the article, all I could think of was that that was exactly what my entire life with my mother was like. And it occurred to me that I felt nothing whatsoever for this guy. He was just that relationship. Um, that relationship manifested again, right? And so this Quicksand is written in the context of the romantic relationship, but this is really a poem about my mother and that epiphany, that moment when I realized that I was sinking and I had to get myself out of it. So Quicksand, again, this is my favorite piece in Happy Place. His saltwater syllables surf the aqua emerald foam from the bright slice between earth and sky into misted rainbow lassos that disguise the beach and sparkly sandcastles with seaweed streamers that wrap around my ankle and climb and weave as they pull me underneath the sudden rising tides of its pretty blue lies. And as I scream, he teaches me his disease, a boot sole pressed to my forehead to speed my descent to waist, to heart corroded in all its arteries, while he disappears in the mush overhead. My eyes, stinging stars, they fade, go dark and then numb. And right when I give up on another breath, he pulls me back to air and kisses me there. For one deep inhale of him, it's just us. We win, and I am saved. He smiles, I smile, and then he lets go to rub sand in my face. I sink, blindsided. How didn't I see the lassos in the seaweed? Why didn't I swim away? Now I'm drowning, fighting for the sliver of light to reopen, for space, for oxygen, for anything but dying. Then he reaches in and pulls me up, but this time only thigh high so he can touch what he wants while I gulp, gasp for not sand to survive. When he sees me about to stand, he shakes me off his wicked hand. Under I go again, yes, again, the pit chewing my toes, suffocating my essence at the torso, until his grip on my wrist keeps me out just enough to beg him. Seeing stars out of breath, I beg his laughter to save me. He pulls at my hand as his heel gets heavier on my head. In and out, saved, dead. I pray for his saving. One more folded palm stretch out of my grainy death. He gives me a fingertip of hope, a thread of rope that I now know is endgame, my last chance to escape. I grab hold and I don't let go. I hold and hold and hold as my sight goes gray and then black. But as he steps back, he pulls me free to my nose. I take my breath and use that strength to reach his calf. Next breath, a knee stops at solid beach. Next breath, and then I grab his thigh, my temple to his knee. Next breath, his hip, I am on my feet. Next breath, lunge for a fistful of throat and throw him under me. Next breath, choke holding his face beneath the piss of his quicksand prison. Next breath, I do not offer reprieve. This is not a game to me. Next breath, I hold and I hold and I hold until he gives up on breathing. Next breath, I watch his whole fucking body sink. I breathe. I stand up and leave. I need another drink of water after that one. All right. So it does get happier, I promise. They're not all completely sad. In fact, I Survive Bad Dreams is all about coming out of the darkness. It's about waking yourself up and facing your demons. And also because I'm really into scary movies, so I always kind of work in, nightmare scary movies into my things. I survive bad dreams. The mushy sludge floods my toes. I sink ankle deep in the sidewalk. My feet too heavy to lift, teeth chipped in grit to get those knees up high enough to escape the madmen chasing me. They hear me heavy breathing and dragging my weaknesses and reflections that implode the windows. The scrapes bleeding and leaving a scent for them along the darkness. I hear them screeching, licking the walls and crunching the shards just yards behind me. Move, knees and hips. Just keep reaching. Don't you quit. And we're gonna make it to freedom. Fuck you, demons. And I know some of you did come to my virtual launch party. Thank you. And Michelle took away a bunch of prizes from that event. Hi, Lisa's in. Hi, Lisa. I see her down there. And so I did read this one at my launch party too, because this is my forgiveness poem. So again, I know enough about my parents to understand how they became the parents that they were. I sympathize with them. I share their sadness. Obviously, they kind of paid it forward, so I completely understand it. And part of my healing process was realizing that whoever they were, whatever they did, right, had absolutely zero to do with who I am or anything that I did. I just happened to be there to take the hits at the time, basically. And I'm doing my best to make sure that, again, I don't pay that forward to my children. But I Don't Hate Them is really my forgiveness poem. It's accepting my parents for who they were and being okay with still loving them, right? I don't hate them. I don't hate her. I don't hate him. They are the whom I'm from, and no matter what they did or did not give, or that they thrash and hit and then get rid of me, despite all of it, I never could hate them. Nope, not one bit. I'm hurt and I'm mad that I had to grab for the crumbs that they scattered, a pigeon pecking up scraps dropped in cracks by the people I loved. And I dug for every speck despite their whims, deep down with everything I was, even when they could not or would not love me back. Through all of that, I could not have less love for them. I'm trying to forgive, trying to heal within, figuring out how to feel the things they chose not to teach when I was learning to live. Hug my own kids and remember that my parents were the products of love they didn't get. Little pigeons starved and feathers stripped. I don't hate them. Not then, not now, not one bit. But I have to do better than they did. I almost teared up on you guys there. For full disclosure, I did a few rehearsals and I only cried in half of them. So there's a good chance we'll get through the whole session without me breaking down in tears, but I'm not making any promises. Obviously, this is all very personal. And thank you, Lisa, for appreciating that I'm sharing this. So Blackstone Swallowed is a poem about actively choosing to break a cycle and putting in the work to do it. I'm doing pretty good, I think, but I definitely did not come out unscathed from my childhood. Again, I don't really have that normal baseline. And so I always question, is my parental anger justified or is my bar too high? Am I comforting or am I coddling? I don't have the baseline. And so I depend a lot on my support system. And so something that I always tell my kids is that we don't all get good parents, but we get good friends, we get good aunts and uncles, we get good neighbors, we get good coworkers, and sometimes we get good strangers who just happen into our lives at exactly the right time. So even though we might not have that good parent relationship, there are definitely way more relationships that can be just as important. But anyway, Black Stone Swallowed is just about me and making that decision to break the family cycles and not pass this forward to my kids. All right, I'm going to take a drink of water though before we start. I am all that is left of a home built of moldy black stones, the last rusted bone whose walls are almost gone, crumbling to the ground by the heavy sound of their final silent treatment, crushed to dust and spores swirling around the stench of their last breaths and then settling on the bed. No one spoke, everyone choking on the same dark chunks, the stories that are done and cannot be unsung, pearls of wickedness from our mothers and fathers who were sickened by the slippery mold that trickled and eroded the rotted foundations of their mothers and fathers long times ago. Now they're all ghosts, and I'm holding my last stone at the same crossroad. Do I choke and spit spores onto the poor souls I bore into my story? Or swallow the onyx cancer whole, choose to carry the weight alone in the fist of what I am, and then take it to my grave when I go? Mom, her toes to this line, coughed and sputtered the family madness into our gasping cries. Dad gagged, wrapped his hands around his neck to squeeze the infection back to the surface. Both faces purple and strained as they sprayed their dirt, their hurt and pain, as they refused to suffer alone. Here and now I choose to swallow hard, retch, swallow again, hold my nose and mouth until the jagged shards, trapped and smothered, rip me throat to heart. Feed all my energy to the symptoms of my bipolar and post-traumatic diagnoses. Suffocate this chorus. Make no carbon copies of the suffering. Imprison every spore in my coffin, where not a speck can settle on my babies. Not gonna do it, not gonna do it. We're gonna make it, because we're gonna make it. And this next one, She Loves Me Maybe, is a final note to my mom. I'm not gonna cry. Oh my God, here. All right. She's gone. She's gone now. I'll never know if she ever really loved me. If she had the capacity to love, and if so, if she had any for me. I'm always going to doubt it. But part of the healing process is realizing that it doesn't really matter. She loves me maybe. I loved you. It doesn't matter. It never mattered which petal I pulled off, whatever flower last. And we are not ending on sad notes. No. Even though this was a crazy sad topic, we're not ending that way, because this is all about breaking cycles, and this is not about ending on any sad notes. The last poem I'm going to read for you guys is actually from my first book, All Shards and Paste, and it's an acrostic using my the first and middle names of both of my kids into a poem of motherly advice that when I thought about what I wanted to give to them, if I could give them wisdom or something to carry on with them, these are all of the things that I would give them. And that way, um, if I don't do such a good job, they still have some sentiments to carry them through. But before we get into it, I do want to share with you some of the ways that I actively am breaking these cycles, because I know we talked about it and I said that I chose to. And so I'm going to share with you guys, just in case you find yourself in a similar situation where you are the one breaking cycles, or maybe you want to and you're not sure how. Here are a few ways that I think I'm succeeding at it anyway. The first is that I've not been a perfect mother. I have done things that are mean that I completely regret, but I did them. It happened, and just when those things do happen, I apologize. A real apology. I say to them exactly what I did. I listen to how it made them feel. I apologize, and I never do it again. Right? Apologies are really important. Real apologies are really important. I ask for help. So when I'm not sure what normal is or what a baseline is, I turn to my good friends. I turn to experts online. I look for input from people who do know what that baseline should be. And I try to incorporate that and learn from other people's experiences, since I don't have them. I tend to my wounds. So I wake up every day and I hug the little Joey in here. I hug that kid that did not get raised on love and security, and I give her love and security every single day, just to make sure that I can, again, heal and not pass any trauma on to my kids. And the last thing I do is I am honest with my kids about my experiences, my relationship with my parents. I let them know that I don't expect to be perfect, and I expect them to help me correct those things. And I think that open communication, that honesty goes a long way. I have asked them several times if they feel loved, and they always say yes. So I think I'm doing pretty good. So anyway, so for my boys, take me with you. Eye level makes the right connection. Dream things like no one else dreams them. Want light. Another step is all it takes to move on. Release whatever is dragging you down. Dance when your feet like the sound. Wish because it's fun to wish. Invest when you don't care what you get. Life's payoff is a million moments. Listen to every way someone speaks. Insist on respect and honesty. Allow your heart to love through fear. Memories celebrate when lifetimes end. Create each day on a blank page. Happiness takes a big dose of self-love. Anticipate consequences, then choose. Need people, not things. Never sit when you should rage. Imagine every way it could be. Never get stuck in your sad stories. Give yourself the strength you need. Allow yourself to walk away. Leave the past to your lessons learned. Expect to get what you've earned. X. Sometimes no words fit your poem. Allow yourself a new page for a new line. Need your freedom more than time. Defend what's you. Echo things doused in good rhythms. Remind yourselves every day that I love you. Ooh, I almost did it again. I almost cried again. Anyway, so that is for my boys. Take me with you. And I would like to open it up. I hope this works. Ooh, it did work. Woohoo! So I finally got the chat panel working. So right now I will open it for a Q&A if you want, or if you just want to, I don't know, share anything in the chat, feel free. and I can take a few minutes to answer some questions, just hang out. Hello, Denise, how are you? I do like having the chat panel, and so now everybody can see what everybody's saying for a moment. Hi, Megan. I'm so glad you got to be here. Yay. Well, I mean, I actually have some extra time. It went pretty quickly giving the presentation. I was expecting to have a couple of questions, but I'll take requests too. If you guys want to hear something else that's in Happy Place, I don't mind doing that. Hi, Megan. I hope it's still working. I'm seeing Facebook come through. I wonder if YouTube did not attach right. I hope it's okay. I hope it's okay anyway. All right. All right, guys. Well, I will go ahead and switch to this side then, because I'm actually planning 3 more of these live virtual shows to share other poems from Happy Place based around different themes. So the first one that will be on February 5th is Letting Go. So that's ending relationships with, lovers, friends, and, frenemies. It's basically about relationships ending. And then on the day after Valentine's Day, I'm going to do one called Mushy Mush, and it's going to be all the romantic, sexy poems, and I'll probably pull in some from the first book too, just because, it's mushy poems. So bring your lovers, come get your freak on with some poetry. And then on the leap day, so on February 29th, I'm going to do one called The Lowlights. And this is all my grief poetry, my depression poetry. So if you want to connect over some sadness, come on over. Most of you know I lost my brother, so I deal with that grief a lot. And so I write a lot of poetry about that. So there's a lot of grief poetry and losing loved ones, and also then just dealing with depression, things like that. And so that is the presentation. Well, here, wait, let me switch to the last slide. So I'm going to actually paste into the chat a link to the Happy Place page for you. And this way you guys can have access to, you'll have access to all of the events. So the links to the events, you could also just scan the QR code with your phone if you wanted to. But there's a link, I hope that works for you, yay. And also all the links where you could buy Happy Place, right? So I hope you guys will pick up your copy of Happy Place. It's in print, ebook, and audiobook. Whatever format you want. If you go to the Happy Place page, there's links to different Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's on Spotify. You can even get it at your library. Oh, Megan wants to hear Winter Sunset. Yes, here, let me switch over to the let me switch to this slide. Okay, Winter Sunset. I'm just gonna, I know it's so short, and yes, Michelle, I did see your review. It's queued up for me to do to go out to the socials. I did see it. Thank you so much. So yes, guys, if you did get a copy of Happy Place, please go leave reviews. If you want a copy or you got a free copy, go out to Goodreads and leave your review on Goodreads, and people will be able to pick it up there. Sorry, I got to find out what page it's on. Oh, I should search for it. Oh, there it is. All right, Winter Sunset. I know. Are you still in the blahs? Is that it, Megan? You're still in the winter blahs? Still in the winter blahs? 57. Thank you. All right. All right. Winter Sunset. There are no sun streaks melting peach to purple. No daylight, gold ribbons and threads stitching the gradient moments that warm us late. Today is vague sky, fading gray to darkness, ice breath nimbus, hiding starlight, lost. Nowhere I know. There's a road somewhere under the snow, and it is cold. There you go. If anybody else wants to hear one, go ahead and put it in the chat. Otherwise, I'll go ahead back. Thank you, Megan, for requesting one. I love you. Thank you so much. Let me go back to my last slide. There we go. And so I'll just give it a couple minutes while this is on. If anybody wants to hear something else, just go ahead and put it in the chat and I'll read it. Otherwise, ugh, you're crazy, Lisa. I'm about to go chill out and get in my pajamas. You go enjoy the snow. Oh my God, I hope it makes you feel better. All right, guys, thank you so much for dropping by again, for all your support so far. I appreciate you especially allowing me to come and share this really vulnerable stuff. And I am not somebody that gets vulnerable very easily. So thank you for allowing me to share this with you. And I hope that it made you feel loved and safe. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much for stopping by.